This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is incoming board member of Sirios Resources, Mr. Lawrence Farmer, and incoming CEO of Cerios. And we'll talk about the rebranding and the resurgence of this company and this deposit. But it's a pleasure to have the incoming CEO with us as well, Mr. Jean Felix Lapage. Sirs, gentlemen, how are you today?
Great.
Awesome, Gerardo. Yeah, it's good to see you.
Well, listen, we have gold at $4,300. You have the likes of JP Morgan, Goldman, all of the institutions squarely behind. And I don't even want to call it a trade. I want to call it a wealth preserver, but gold looks like it's headed much, much higher. I can't think of a better time to take a deposit, and we'll get into the deposit and why JF is so ideally suited to lead this charge forward. But I can't think of a better time for someone, Lawrence, with your background and your network and the Osisko brand that follows you to come in and throw their weight and endorsement behind this revamped team and what's going to be a brand new take on this 3 million ounce plus gold deposit in what I think is going to become eventually the preeminent vehicle for gold exploration in James Bay. James Bay, as you all know, has been very, very kind to me on the lithium side over the past several years. I suspect, and I'm a biased shareholder, I suspect that with the Osisko brand, with JF's intimate knowledge of the region, with the exploration upside, this is going to be another big win for subscribers and for myself, and obviously by default for you all as well. Lawrence, for those that aren't familiar with you, can you give us a bit about your background?
Yeah, sure. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, Gerardo. You know that. I grew up, I cut my teeth as a corporate lawyer in big law firms. From Montreal, I moved to London to practice corporate law. Did that for a couple of years, and then got the opportunity to move to investment banking. I was at RBC for a couple of years and on their mining team in London. Had a kid during COVID, came back into the Osisko sphere that I knew quite well from my early days as a lawyer. I did a stint at Osisko. My brother works still at the royalty company. So I got accustomed to doing royalty transactions and then moved to Osisko Development with Sean Rusin. So I'm the corporate vice president of corporate development and general counsel at Osisko Development, and I also run, as you know, Gerardo, the gold spin the exploration spin out Electric Elements, which we spun out of Osisko Development in 2023. So corporate law, investment banking, transactional experience, structuring deals. That's what I like to do. Certainly not a technical guy, but I love the mining space, and I've been in the mining space since I started as a professional in 2013. So.
Well, listen, you and I now have worked, in some capacity on I think 3 or 4 separate deals, including Electric Elements, right? I'm biased there because I'm a shareholder. I'm biased here because I have a pretty substantial shareholding in Sirios, and there's other, companies where we kind of have a like-minded approach and obviously are working together to make those work. That is a big reason why I couldn't be more excited to see the Osisko brand get behind some incredible deposit that's been worked on for decades. It's been built up for decades and hasn't, I don't think, merited the attention that the deposit deserves. And so, JF, this is where you come in, right, sir? Your intimate knowledge of this area, I think, is going to be critical in advancing this deposit. So can you talk a bit about your experience and why you're so excited about coming on board as the incoming CEO?
Sure. So, I mean, what bring me to the mining space at the first place was the was exploration. So I wanted to do exploration. So my first internship was in fact in James Bay for Virginia Gold Mines but after that I ended up doing my engineering degree in mining instead. So I left out the exploration for a while, working in a mining environment, and that place was for 8 years the Eleanor mine, just basically a few steps from Cheechoo. So I did spend a lot of time there in the metallurgy team and in projects, and ended up managing the underground operations. So So I doing pretty much everything you can think about on a mine site in James Bay, right there. And after that, Gold Corp Newmont experience, I joined the Osisko group at O3 Mining, so as vice president of project development, working mainly on a project called Marban. So until the Andico bought the company early this year. Uh, so yeah, again, another great experience with an open pit project. Same kind of setup you can imagine for Cheechoo. And so after that experience, started to work this summer to build a new vehicle for gold in James Bay, and that was OV mining. So we had that really vision of James Bay being the right place to be for gold for the next 20, 50 years. So really we're bullish around that region. And that moment bring us to the conversation with Sirios to add to that vehicle, or to join forces with Sirios to add that 3 million plus deposit that I pretty much know for a long time, because I was basically the neighbor for many years.
I love it. Lawrence, I gotta say, look, it's not just you that's coming on board from Osisko. It's founder and executive chairman of Osisko Development, Mr. Sean Rusin. Can you talk about, look, let's be very frank. You and Sean don't lend your names out just to any project or any team or any company. I know how methodical and selective and diligent you are about where you allocate your time. There's only so much to do, right? Even in a bull market. So I got to believe that both of you coming on board, and it certainly made an impression on me, is as bullish an endorsement as you can possibly get, especially for this region. What is it about Cheechoo and this combined land package now, right? There's several very prospective exploration projects here, with historic resources and grade. But for the purpose of this conversation, I do want to focus on Cheechoo. What about this vehicle made you and Sean want to come on and say, yeah, we can get behind this. This is somewhere that we can drive value and grow in a very methodical and step changing way.
Yeah, Gerardo, this is Osisko's stamp of approval on Cheechoo, and that should not be taken lightly. We did not do we did a lot of work on the asset. We did a lot of work in the region to understand the opportunity set in the region, and it was very easy actually to narrow the opportunity set down to a group of one, and that's Cerios. And that is because Osisko are elephant hunters. We grow big mines. We look for scale. We look for district size and scale potential, and that's what we believe we have here in Cheechoo. We also look for value. This asset is extremely underappreciated. It's extremely undervalued, and it has an excellent ability to scale. So when we looked at this, and we did a lot of homework and due diligence on the resource, the block model, the geology, the structure, the lithology, we see a lot of potential here. We see a lot of scale, and we see a mine that is ready to be advanced. There's a consistency in the ore body here, and a simplicity in the geology that we really like. This is an open pittable resource. This has the grade in this gold environment, as well as in past gold environments, to be a real mine of significant scale, with significant upside. And our exploration properties, which are on second base already,
Yeah.
remember, they have resources on them. One of them is historical and non-compliant, so we can't report it. But those assets are on second base. And like our Plex and Corvette Est asset, Cheechoo sits on the primary contact, the contact between the two primary geological subprovinces. So you have the Legrand and Opinaka subprovinces smashing together, and these have all been staked along greenstone belts at the contact of those two subprovinces. So when you talk about fertile grounds for elephants, we have three properties that are directly at that contact base, and you can see it in the quality of the gold that's on those properties. We have discoveries on every single one of them. They are open in all directions, every single one of them, and a lot of work to be done. And Cheechoo absolutely is the flagship, and I'm sure JF is salivating to speak to the upside on this property.
You took my next question, Lauren. So well done, sir. JF, I absolutely want to hear about the upside. Look, it's spectacular that you have the continuity and the mineralization in the ore body, as Lawrence mentioned. You have the grade. It's open pittable, but there's phenomenal and exceptional exploration upside here from those 3 million gold ounces across all categories. Can you speak to that, what you see there? And then I want to talk about how we get to unlocking that in 2026.
Sure. And before talking about that upside specifically, I want to reflect on the good work that Sirios did with that updated resource they put out in the summer. So they increased the grade, they increased the ounces, they increased the tons, everything went on the right direction. And we think on top of that, they really increased their understanding of the deposit and what controls the grade as well. So there I think when we did the due diligence of on the deposit, and I mean, everything was in green because the confidence was there and the numbers were great as well. And when you look at resource, it's good. It's good to see where you had. It's just that checkpoint basically, but what's coming after, and it's part of the resource, and you don't see that really often. Part of that same 43101 report they identified as an exploration target. So it's not like blue sky. You want to put a hole somewhere. It's something they modeled, but it's not. The density of drilling is not big enough to get to the resource, but it's been modeled, so we know exactly where it is, and that's what you see there. So those red section that you see are what controls the grade, and it's modeled right outside of the pit. So the next stage of growth, the next stage of exploration, is basically right at the shore of the open pit of the resource pit that has been modeled. So on top of that 3 million ounces, it's roughly 50-50 now, indicated and inferred. So we can add basically to it, and you can read the table and do the math, but to do a quick calculation, 31 million tons at 1 gram, it's a million ounces. So in that table, you can see 1.2 to 1.8, if I'm correct. Um, of new ounces that we can bring inside of the same endowment. So, but I think for us that put us already in 4.5 to 5 million potential for that pit. And when you look that one too, there's something else you can see when you look the details is that when you look the left part, it's the main geology domain. Uh, but when you there's another zone. If you look the far right of the pit, it's just it seems to be something else because it
Hmm.
is. So that part is on a different geology, and that geology is basically following the pit on the north side. So that's another target we can add on top of the model target that you see in there. So there's a lot we can do right beside the pit without talking about the potential for the rest of the properties. So when we talk size, and I think Lawrence mentioned it quite at the beginning, and so we 3 million is good, and it's probably good enough to do a project to do PEA and PFS and everything else. But we see more, and we can before launching any studies target those area to bring more ounces to the project.
So me as a shareholder, I should absolutely expect 5 million plus gold ounces here in James Bay, right?
I think the potential. I mean, it's what we see, and that's not even counting for pure exploration because I mean that's still open towards Eleanor, so we can and that other geology that I talked about to the right, that's the geology that bears Eleanor to the northwest. So that trend is open as well. So there's more on that property than just the Cheechoo as we see it now. So for me, a 5 million target, it's a quite short term target if you ask me.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Lawrence, I want to talk a bit peer comps and valuation. I know again how diligent you are when you look to lend your name and get behind a project, right? And when Osisko decides to put their stamp of approval on it, you look for value. You mentioned it off top, but I want to highlight and emphasize that even after this little run, once the deal was announced, people clearly understood the value of the Osisko group getting behind it, of JF coming in, of creating a clear pathway to build on the great work that the prior team had executed on, it's still dirt cheap at today's peer comps. Let's imagine you never find another 2, 3, 4 million gold ounces. It stays at 3, which we know that won't be the case. But just looking at it today, what do those peer comps and those valuations look like? Because the re-rating potential based on today's comps is significant.
Yeah, we're right at the bottom of the peer comp benchmarking. So when we did the deal on announcement, Sirios was trading at $6 an ounce on an EV to resource basis. Um, that's unheard of in terms of how low they were trading, and really that's a function again not of Dominic's excellent work on the geology and on building out that exceptional resource base at Cheechoo, but really just a dearth of proper capital markets attention, and I think a dearth of a belief system in the ability to advance the project expeditiously. And so that's why we really believe that just from a personnel perspective, we're going to add value here because there is nobody better in Quebec at developing assets than Osisko. You look at Malartic, you look at Windfall,
Yep.
we get it done from time and time again. Open pit, underground, it doesn't matter. We know the landscape. We know the hurdles and the wickets that you need to move through. We speak the language, literally and figuratively. So we will add value to this team absolutely from a personnel perspective, and of course we're bringing in the assets as well. But in terms of efficient development, we fully expect the re-rate to materialize over the near, medium, and of course longer term. We're trading now at about 12 $13 an ounce on an EV to resource basis after the initial trading activity after the announcement. The peers trade at between 30 to 100 bucks an ounce. And we feel, and we're biased, of course, that we offer a better management team, very experienced and ambitious and young management team, of course, with the board to support that, and an asset that just is absolutely a winner every day of the week in this environment. Again, low strip open pit with a consistent ore body. When you're looking at financeable assets that are easy to understand, easy to get behind, will pass through the due diligence tests when the bankers and
Yep.
debt advisors get a hold of them. This is the asset for that. Again, with scale potential to really jump into a tier one category. So we fully expect that we will continue through the re-rate process and that this entry point is a very, very good one.
Well, there you go, folks. And then to make Lawrence's detailed description of the peer comp disconnect, using today's numbers, recent deals, prior deals, and today's numbers, you can get a 3 to 8 fold gain, not counting for the exploration upside, not counting for the additional modeled ounces, not counting for everything else that comes with the team that is driving the car now. JF, there is a lot to love here. Nothing ever happens as quickly as I would like it in this space. I think Lawrence has gotten to know that from, the past several years of him and I interacting. And frankly, I think he feels the same way because that's just the way the mining space works. But what are the next steps? How do we start really showing the market what the team is going to get done here in 2026? I know you're already hard at work at it, but what can shareholders expect
Sure.
here over the next several quarters?
Sure. Before I answer your question, I just want to reflect on one thing Lawrence was just saying about the quality. So, Purdy said about the size and how many ounces. So, but that's only one component. I think that we need to reflect also on the quality of those ounces. And again, as something you don't see often in a resource statement is strip ratio in open pit. Because I mean, that's most of the time is not a great number to show. So people are just not showing it. Uh, but in that case, we know it's a 2.9 strip ratio at a resource level. So when you compare that, and that's compared to recent mine plans. So
Yeah.
that's reserve statement and feasibility studies. So we know it in terms of like grade over 1 and strip ratio below 3. There's not so many mine out there that are at that level. So the only thing I would change is that size of the bubble, and the size is the ounces. So, but I think on term of the quality, so there's a lot. I think there's a lot of opportunity we can do in engineering, and now we will approach that pit because of that quality. Um, So really, I think we have a great asset that we can bring forward quickly. And I'll reflect on number 11 is the Marban project, that the one from O3 I was working on just before. So I mean, when you compare that point, it's like better grade, better strip ratio, and more ounces. Something we sold to Agnico just a few months ago. So I think it's something really great that we have. Um, and um, and yeah, so based on that quality, that needs to be reflected. So when we look the dollar per ounces, it doesn't show the quality of those
Yeah.
ounces, and we know by that quality, the ratio from a resource to a mine plan could be high as well. So project
Hmm.
are like Marban or higher strip ratio, they'll have somewhere 60, 65, 70% of the ounces will come to the mine plan, but with good quality can go up to 80, 85%. So that's something we'll need to adjust with engineering going forward. But I think it's a really great starting point. So with that said, I mean, I mentioned engineering, I mentioned technical studies before that. I think that's where we're going. So we need to put together a PEA in the near term, but before that, I really want to add ounces to the project. So we expect the transaction to close late February, and then we'll plan for one drilling campaign. Is that drilling campaign going to be over 1 or 2 season? It's to be determined. We're working on the size of that drilling campaign, but definitely after that one, we'll do a resource update and then a PEA. So we want to bring that project a little bit bigger, because if I mean, there's no point to do a PEA if you know that there will be a big grow after. So we need
Correct.
to add those ounces prior to do that, but that's definitely our goal to bring that to the next step.
Lawrence, if there's one gripe I have, I love the asset, absolutely love the team. The re-rating is going to be spectacular. I think we're all going to do very well, especially patient shareholders that are able to get in at these levels. I don't think these levels last long, by the way. But if there's one gripe I have is this asset has been through bear and bull markets, and as a result of bear markets, especially, there's been a lot of dilution, right? And so the share count would be the one thing I could point at where I see an opportunity to possibly tighten that up. And I know the transaction doesn't close to February, and cross that bridge when we get to it. But is that a consideration of the team of maybe tightening up the share structure there?
It's absolutely a consideration. There's been many years of small-ish capital raises
Yeah.
using charitable flow through, which we like. That's absolutely a key benefit to being an explorer in Quebec. But there's, certainly some disenfranchised shareholders that are churning out of the stock, and that's good to drive the volume in the near term, which we need. But the ability for us to consolidate that share structure, and to do a rollback is absolutely something we're looking at. There's a lot of plumbing, mostly on the OV/electric elements end, around this plan of arrangement that's set to close in February. It's internal
Yeah.
housekeeping, but that will keep us busy. But we will look to do a consolidation, either concurrently with or closely after the closing period, and that should tighten up the register quite nicely.
Look, you got the team, you got the asset, you got the market. It checks all of the boxes. I absolutely believe 2026 is going to be a transformational year. Congrats to everybody that worked on making this happen and putting this together. And thank you too for your time. Anything to add to that, Lawrence?
I think you covered it, John. We're super keen to have more eyes on this story. I think JF is an absolute all-star. We're super lucky that he's in the seat. And no, I'm excited for what 2026 has to offer.
Same. JF, I'll leave it to you to send us off there. Any last words as it relates to the transaction in 2026?
I think it will be the next few months will be great, just telling the story out there. I think there's so many people that needs to know about this. So tell any friends and family, and I'll be happy to connect with anyone to tell you more about this. and we'll see everyone soon.
Thank you, gentlemen, for the time. Appreciate it. Have a great Christmas, holiday, end to the year, new year, and we will be chatting soon. Thank you, guys. Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.